Story number 1. She was my best friend, the one person who always said I could come over any time, the one who promised we'd never keep secrets. And for the most part, that was true, except for one thing. Her desk had a single drawer that was always locked. When I asked about it, she would laugh, roll her eyes, and say, "Oh, that's just where I keep private stuff. Nothing exciting." But over time, my curiosity grew. I stayed over often enough to notice how carefully she guarded that drawer. She would even move her chair in front of it when I sat in her room. One night, when she went to the bathroom, I couldn't resist. My hands shook as I picked at the tiny lock. The drawer slid open with a creak, and what I saw inside didn't make sense at first. Dozens of photographs, neatly stacked, carefully organized. Photos of me, sleeping, eating, walking to school, smiling with my family. Some were taken from outside my house, through the window of my bedroom. My heart raced as I realized these weren't just random snapshots. They were a collection. She had been watching me for years, and when she came back into the room, her eyes fell on the open drawer. Her smile didn't fade. She only said, in a calm, almost sweet voice, "Oh, I see you found it." Story number 2. Every night, we had a tradition. Before bed, we'd talk on the phone, whispering about our day until one of us drifted off. Her voice was always the last thing I heard before sleep. But one evening, I must have fallen asleep mid-conversation. When I woke in the middle of the night, the line was still open. I could hear faint breathing. It was slow, heavy, uneven. "Hello," I whispered. No reply, just breathing. Chills ran down my arms as I pressed the phone closer. "Are you there?" Still nothing, just a long inhale, then a crackling exhale. My chest tightened. Something was wrong. I hung up, heart pounding, and tried calling back. But this time, her mother answered. Her voice was trembling. Through muffled sobs, she said, "You didn't know? She died 2 weeks ago." So who had been calling me every night? Who was whispering into the dark? Story number 3. Sleepovers were our thing. We'd stay up too late, laughing at silly jokes, whispering secrets into the dark. But one night, as she sat beside me, giggling, I froze because I heard her voice again, coming from inside her closet. The laugh was identical. The pitch, the tone, the little snort she always made when she tried not to laugh too loud. It came from behind the closet door. I tried to play it off, but my skin was cold. "Did you hear that?" I whispered. She only smiled, as if she had been waiting for me to ask. "Oh," she said softly, "that's just the other me. Don't worry. She likes you too." Story number 4. She always carried a notebook, scribbling in it between classes. I thought it was poetry or silly doodles. But one day, I borrowed it by accident, and I opened to the wrong page. The words weren't poems. They were a prediction, a detailed description of how I would die. It listed the exact clothes I'd be wearing, the place I'd be standing, the words I'd say with my final breath. At first, I told myself it was just her imagination. But when I looked at the date she had written at the top, my stomach dropped. It was tomorrow. When I gave it back to her, my voice trembling, she only smiled, not in surprise, not in embarrassment. She smiled as if she was waiting for me to realize. Story number 5. Her house was ancient, the kind where the walls creaked and shadows clung to the corners. But the basement, that was off limits. She'd laugh nervously and say, "It's gross down there, moldy. You don't want to see it." But one night, during a storm, the power went out. I heard something downstairs, a faint, muffled crying. My flashlight shook in my hand as I followed the sound. The basement door groaned open. The air was damp, stale, and in the flicker of the beam, I saw them. Cages, lined against the wall. Inside weren't animals. They were mannequins, human-shaped, dressed exactly like me. Each one wore outfits I recognized, clothes I had worn last week, a uniform from last month, and their faces, pale masks, crudely stitched with fabric, painted to look like mine. I stumbled back, dropping the light, and in the dark, I heard her voice behind me. "You weren't supposed to see them yet." Story number 6. We loved making videos, funny dances, pranks, little skits. At her sleepover, we set up her phone to record us being silly before bed. The next morning, I scrolled through the footage. At first, it was just us laughing, whispering secrets, until the screen went black. Then, at 2:43 a.m., the video turned on again. The camera was facing me, fast asleep in my blanket, and then she leaned into the frame, my best friend. But her smile was wrong, too wide, too sharp. She whispered into the lens, "Tomorrow, she'll finally be mine." Then she crawled on hands and knees toward my sleeping body. The video cut off. Story number 7. Her family owned an antique mirror, tall and old, its glass slightly warped. We'd always joke about summoning ghosts with it. One night, we dared each other to say scary things into it. She laughed, but as she leaned close, I noticed something strange. Her reflection didn't laugh back. Instead, it stared, eyes wide, lips curled into a stretched, unnatural grin. I whispered, "Why isn't it moving?" She froze, then said quietly, "That's not me. That's the friend who lives inside. She's been waiting to meet you." Story number 8. She always said I was her only true friend, the one she trusted most. But one day, I found a hidden journal under her bed. Each entry described moments that never happened, trips we never took, conversations we never had, fights we never went through. It was as if she was rewriting our friendship into something darker, more twisted. The last entry made my blood run cold. It read, "When she stops being real, I'll make her mine forever." Story number 9. Her house was small, cozy, surrounded by trees. One weekend, I stayed over. In the middle of the night, thirsty, I went down to the kitchen. As I poured water, I glanced at the dark window above the sink and froze. Her face was there, smiling, pressed against the glass. But when I turned, she was still asleep in her bed upstairs. Story number 10. She was still my best friend. At least that's what I told myself. But lately, something was off. Her laugh wasn't quite right. Her favorite foods suddenly made her sick. She began writing with her left hand when she had always been right-handed. One morning, I went to her house earlier than usual. Her mother sat at the table, her eyes red and swollen. She looked at me with pity. "I thought you knew," she whispered. "She died last month." My heart stopped. I staggered back, confused, horrified. But then I heard footsteps upstairs, and when I looked toward her bedroom, my best friend stood there, smiling at me, as if nothing had changed. And that was the last story for tonight. 10 unsettling truths about best friends, each one darker than the last. But don't worry, the night is calm now. You're safe. Close your eyes and let the shadows fade into silence. Let the whispers linger only as dreams, nothing more. Thank you for spending this time with me in the quiet beyond. If you enjoyed these stories, stay with us for more nights like this, where secrets unfold in the dark. Now, rest, good night, and sleep well.